All right, folks, happy Thursday. I hope that this finds you well. And I want to just jump right back in. I want to just keep talking about love, because why not, okay? Hopefully from our discussions on Tuesday, whether or not you came to live class or you followed along in the video lectures, hopefully, again, there were kind of like moments that had you thinking a little bit more deeply about kind of your own conceptions of love, of what it means to love others, of what it means to love yourself, of what it means to love your partner, your family, etc. And in thinking about this, again, I want to hopefully gear us up to be able to have worthwhile experiences with the films as it relates to love next week, and actually the week after. There's one film as well to deal. So there's 3 films dealing with love. Okay. But I want to build on just like some general questions, okay? And we saw these in the love notes that I posted both on Tuesday and today, right? But we think about love. What is it? Is it something we can see, right? What's the nature of it? Is it permanent? Is it fleeting? A little bit of both, right? How does love change in relationships, right? And I mean, again, in romantic love, there's the typical kind of like benchmark where it's like, okay, the first 3, 4, 5 months, you're kind of like deeply infatuated, and like you're all in, and like all your other relationships, friendships, families, relationships kind of go by the wayside because you're pouring energy into that person, into that relationship. And then over time, it kind of doesn't fizzle, but it just changes, right? So how do we think about love as it morphs through time, okay? The definition of love, which maybe we should have talked about on Tuesday, but nevertheless, it's an intense feeling of deep affection, okay? And so I think that's a really nice kind of all-encompassing way of thinking about love, right? It's a feeling of deep affection. So when you think about your partner, when you think about your family, when you think about, when I think about this red water bottle, right? Like, I love this red water bottle. I have deep affection for it, both in its use, both in its time that I've had with it, right? It has actually outlived many romantic relationships that I've had. So it's just kind of funny to think about that in that kind of way. But an intense feeling of deep affection, okay? A verb, feeling of deep romantic or sexual attachment to someone or something, right? So again, thinking about like how we definitionally define love while I'm at it. And then just like thinking about these common phrases that we use as it relates to love, as it relates to, like how we use the word and the concept in common speak, whether that's again, romantically, friendshiply, object, whatever the case may be. So other common phrases, right? For the love of the game, right? And we play for the love of the game. Or for the love of God, right? What does that mean? What does it mean to for the love of God? Or when you just say like that you love something, right? Like the example given, I love dancing. Okay, so like the idea that thinking about like if I love dancing, what does it mean to love dancing? I don't just like dancing. I don't just enjoy it, but I love it. What does that mean? Okay, the idea of making love. What does it mean to make love? Right? And you hear that as it relates to romantic and erotic and sexual love, right? When you make love, right? Like there's something that's, again, kind of like interesting in that phrase, okay? So, again, kind of unpacking that. She was the love of his life, or he was the love of her life, or he was the love of his life, or she was the love of her life, right? However you want to phrase that, however you want to put that in there, the idea that like, and especially in the past tense, right? There's something like after breakups, after maybe a relationship has faltered, where there's this maneuvering, there's this discussion of oh man, I hope, or sometimes after a breakup or after the ending of a relationship, you go through this process where you're like, will I ever find love again, right? And that's a challenging question. Sometimes it feels like a really difficult, defeating, hard question. Okay? We talked about this a little bit on Tuesday, but like falling in love, falling out of love, this idea of falling, this idea of like falling in, falling out, like helplessness, right? There's kind of a sense of that, which is kind of exciting. And then the phrase, I'm sending my love, right? And again, there's more that you could add to the list here. And as you see, as just like a bit of a kind of an aside, which is kind of funny. This phrase "love 15." If any of you have ever played tennis, right? And the way that scoring in tennis goes, is love, love. Love 15, 15, 15, etc., etc., etc. And so when you hear like love, love, the explanation that I was given as it relates to love 15 or love, or love 30, love 40, etc., is that in French, okay, it's kind of funny, but the word for egg is louf, right? So an egg, there's an egg, louf, okay? And so when you have a 0 on the scoreboard in tennis, what does it look like? It looks like an egg, okay? And so somehow through the way these things sometimes go, louf 15, love 15, that's the explanation I was given, which, again, you can fact check me, you can look it up, but I think that's pretty clever. All right. So again, all of these questions worth asking, all of these questions worth asking, all of these notions worth engaging in here, right? And and I gave on Tuesday those kind of like 4 distinct ways of thinking about love from ancient Greece. But in the next video, I want to dive into another kind of like ancient Greek conception of love in a different way. Okay? See you in just a second.